It's not going to work.
You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
Oh, we're here, Jamie. It's me, Sam Russo. It's you, Jamie Carruthers. It's the Final Transmission podcast. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Sam. How are you?
Great. The conceit here is one horror movie a week, from the dawn of time to the end of time. Are you in?
Nuts to butts. That's me.
That was an emphatic yes. We're all aboard the horror train for cat people.
Blowing it early. We're doing cat people.
Yep. Telling people, well, they already know because it's written in the title. Cat people. They're people, but also cats.
Potentially.
Could be.
Directed by Paul Schrader. Are you a Paul Schrader fan, Sam?
Listen, man, don't come at me with your questions. I was really excited when I saw this because I thought it was Paul Schneider, who in my head is Rob Schneider. So I thought this was Rob Schneider's Cat People adaptation, which it was not. But yeah, obviously I am. I mean, I say obviously. Is that obvious? Don't know. I like Taxi Driver.
I don't know anyone that doesn't.
What else has he done? Don't know.
He directed Hardcore, which is very good. I would recommend that.
He wrote the screenplay for Bringing Out the Dead, which is one of my faves.
Yeah, he's a great writer. He's a pretty fucking good director. We'll get into some of that later, obviously. But
Good.
I am a big Paul Schrader head.
You're nuts for Schrader.
Yeah.
What about Rob Schneider?
He's good in the Judge Dredd adaptation.
Do you know what? You look like Paul Schrader.
He does. He's a bald bisexual man with glasses.
It goes deeper than that, bud.
Little chubby face.
It's all in the eyes. Wait, I'm looking at pictures of Rob Schneider. Sorry, I'm getting confused.
I don't look like Rob Schneider.
No, you don't. You wish, goddamn. There's a weird-looking little guy who's hot. So, Cat People. It's 1982. It's rated R.
It was. It was
for me?
made off the back of the success of The Thing. Basically, The Thing was so successful as a remake of an earlier Universal horror film,
Mm-hmm.
and so they were like, "Let's crank some more of those out." The same thinking that got us The Fly, and they decided that they would remake Cat People, which is a weird choice, I think, but
Everything about that's wrong. That's ridiculous. That's like, following on from the amazing success of Schindler's List, they decided to make American Pie. That doesn't make any sense to me. How is this like The Thing?
because it's a remake of a film that was made in the 40s.
Ugh.
That's how it's like The Thing. And
That's
so like
it.
they were like remaking films from the 40s or the 50s is serving us well. So
Right.
let's do more of that.
And
Let's
that's-
give these properties to people who have interesting ideas.
And Cat People was Schrader was firmly, in the zeitgeist as a risk taker, an original ideasman at that point, I imagine.
Yeah, so in the commentary he mentions that but he wanted to do this as like an experiment to make a movie that he hadn't written and something that didn't feel incredibly personal to him.
Right.
But what he says in the commentary is that he ended up making his most personal film, which might be bullshit, but also maybe he fucked his brother. I don't know.
Oh, spoilers, Jamie, please. We're finally going there. Have we been there so far on the Final Transmission podcast?
Yeah, like last week,
What was last week? I'm so
Loved
old and
Ones.
tired.
the daddy-daughter.
Oh, yeah, that was gross. Okay, cool. Right, got you. All right, so looks like
So we're firmly
Jamie's
hitched to
idea
an
of romance
incest
is
wagon.
just incest. The whole of February. What does Jamie find romantic? Just incest. Whoops, all incest. It's February.
Well, we've blown the incest wad sort of relatively early. So I think this is probably a good time to say that the original Cat People dealt with lesbianism and the repression of like being gay.
A taboo.
Yeah. And I guess the being gay in 1982 wasn't quite as big a deal. So the next taboo on the list was, I guess, incest.
Wowie, wow, wow. Yeah, I guess still pretty off the menu now. Yeah, all right. So a reframing of a sexual taboo for the early 80s. We're going from female on female love to brother and sister. So when did you first see this cinematic tour de force of sibling fuckfestery?
I don't know if I would call it fuckfestery, but like for a film that is so erotically charged, there's actually like a very limited amount of sex in the movie. I remembered it being much sexier, or much more explicitly sexual. It's quite sexy generally. I feel like it's impossible to have a movie
built me
with
up, Buttercup, for a real sex fest.
It's impossible to have a movie with Nastasia Kinski in it that isn't sexy. She's just a very, very attractive woman. And also John Hurd looks great in this movie. He looks very attractive.
He's quite young.
Kevin's dad.
Right?
Yeah. Is this one of the few instances that you can think of seeing Kevin's dad outside of him being Kevin's dad?
Yeah, he's so Kevin's dad that he's very rarely anything else. Do you know what I mean? I don't understand how that one singular role has defined his career in such a manner. Like, there are similar... Well, there's not really. Like, he's not a main character in that movie, but he performs so immaculately that he's really memorable in that role. But there are other people who've done that, and their careers aren't defined by it. You know, people think of Jeff Bridges. They don't automatically and only think of The Big Lebowski. You know, they think of a billion other roles. So what is it about John Hurd that's so firmly Kevin's dad, do you think?
I think maybe he just wasn't in loads of stuff. So the thing that we've all seen him in is Home Alone.
True. You got to be a real dirty little weevil of a cinephile to really have seen him in much else and to really care.
Also, like when he rocks up in The Sopranos, it's weird because it's like, why is Kevin's dad this dirty little corrupt cop? Like, that doesn't work for me.
Well, everyone contextualizes his presence in that as being in the same cinematic universe as Home Alone. That's how far people will go to firmly bind this man to one role. Even when he smokes it in a different role in a great show, it's warped and bent to be about something completely different. I rate him. I just find him to be such a naturalistic actor. Everything he does seems like it's pretty much off the cuff. Like, he never seems like he's trying too hard or overacting, which I kind of respect.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think he's pretty sexy in this. There's that one scene where him and Nastasia Kinski are like fishing for crabs, and they're both wearing waders, and somehow both just look incredibly hot in waders.
Dude, I think he's so unsexy in this. It's almost laughable. He's got moves. Don't get me wrong. When they're making out, he's got serious moves. But he's too, fuck me, don't know, beige coat.
Do you think there's something unsexy about fuck me or I'll feed you to the alligators?
No, I love that. That's fine. I don't know. It's just not a sexy. He doesn't give me. He's a perfectly handsome, talented man. But to me, he's not very sexy. I
mean, like I say, I think particularly in that one scene, I think he looks especially sexy. But
in waders specifically. I think it might be the waders that are doing it for you there more than anything, Jamie. It could be anyone.
I mean, it might be. I didn't know that I was a waders guy, but it turns out.
Yep. Big time waders guy. Wade into me, daddy. The Jamie Carruthers story. He's fine.
So I saw this. I was probably 13 or 14 when I saw this. It was probably like a late night Channel 4 situation.
Interesting. Because of the boobs.
And I remembered it being much boobier, but also like much more horror-y.
Have you not seen it since you were 13?
I don't think so.
Interesting. It's a long time.
It is a long time. 26 years.
That's a long time to see something and then bring it back. I can't believe you remember this crap. That's unbelievable.
Pardon the pun, but I lionized it in my memory as a great film that I didn't really quite understand when I was a kid.
Got you.
And it's always been sort of bubbling away.
That's how I
And
feel
like,
about the Langoliers.
If that's how you feel about the Langoliers, don't revisit the Langoliers.
Yeah, you've warned me many times. I listened to the audiobook and it was fucking shite. It was
Who
bad.
did the audiobook?
Can't remember. It was read fine. No, it wasn't. It was awful. The accents were absolutely all over the playing field, but the writing is absolute dog shit. So that's the main problem. It's not a good story. It's a great idea, but it's so badly written. It's horrible.
Yeah, I think like in the what we call it miniseries, like it's just the CG fucking Sky Pac-Mans are the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I remember them being mortally terrifying. So I'm just going to leave it where it is on the video shelf of my mind and move on.
So you hadn't seen Cat People prior,
I hadn't seen this Cat People, no.
but you'd seen the original.
Yeah, weirdly, I'd seen the original a couple of times.
It's because the
Not
original
entirely sure why.
is a classic.
Yeah, I think because it's readily available and it's a bit of a go-to, it's a movie of its time. It's got some interesting themes. It's quite well shot. Yeah, I'd seen it a couple of times over the years, and to be completely honest, I was not aware that there was a remake, and here it is. On paper, when I thought it was a Rob Schneider movie with Malcolm McDowell, John Hurd, Annette O'Toole, who I really like, Ed Begley Jr., that's looking pretty fucking spicy on the menu there. That's something I might actually order,
Yeah, the cast is great.
Mm.
And like the cast is great to begin with, and then Ed Begley Jr. rocks up and you're like, oh shit, this is gonna be tip top.
Yeah. He ain't around for long, bless him.
Yeah, no spoilers. Just
No spoilers.
Well, no.
But there's a spoiler for you. If you came here to get your Ed Begley Jr. hump scratched, you might be disappointed. So what do you think of this movie, Jamie?
I mean, I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You say that like it's a given. You watched it once when you were 13, so fucking...
I think it's really beautiful. Like, it looks gorgeous, like a proper movie should look.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's without its problems.
Right.
But I think it's great. I think there'll probably be a long and difficult section where we talk about making a movie about big cats in 1982 with a maverick director and how problematic that is.
I think we could get that out of the way right now. Don't do that. It sucks. Yeah. Job done. I mean, fuck me. Unless one of us is going to try and defend it, Jamie. I think we've just done it, right?
One of the big cats killed itself on set.
Yep, I heard about that. And there is nothing we can say that in any way softens the fucking heinous tragedy that is the treatment of the animals in this movie. It's fucking criminal. And those people should
They dyed a lot
legitimately
of
be
mountain
prosecuted.
lions black.
Yeah. Oh, just torturing them with noise devices and shit. Like, fucking absolutely unjustifiable cruelty on every level. And I think those people should be fucking in prison.
That does temper my enjoyment of the movie somewhat.
Yeah, good. It fucking should. Sucks, and it sucks. So there's that discussion out of the way.
Yeah, it's like it's not even compelling enough in those scenes. Like you could do that. Rob Bottin, if you get Rob Bottin on deck, he could do all of that shit. Rob Bottin did the special effects in The Thing.
Oh, sure.
Like if you had him on deck doing animatronic cats, you had Stan Winston. Do you know what I mean? Like it could have been
live animatronic cats. I don't think we can do that now. It'd be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Get one of those fucking service robots into a cat suit.
Like
just kids. Just put a kid in a suit. Fuck me. Get Warwick Davis in there. Who cares?
Yeah. Get 2 Warwick Davises.
Yeah, some good puppets. Like some good big cat head puppets.
That's what I mean. Like Rob Bottin could have nailed that. There's something to be said for the some of the shots of the big cats. They do look, scary. But the knowledge of what those cats are going through just doesn't make it worth it for me at all.
I think even at the time, no. This feels fucking wrong. Like, even in 1982, surely somebody was like, hang about, boys. Should we take a step back from this? Yeah, it's bizarre. It's completely bizarre that this happened and that it exists. I think you absolutely could have done it a different way. There's a lot to be said for the fact that big cats are beautiful. You know, the argument being, well, they're beautiful, therefore we should shoot them and show everyone how beautiful they are. Like, I don't know how to get around it, but they fucked it up.
I think if maybe one didn't die or on set, and they didn't, show the take where it bashed its head into the bar and then
just
film,
carry on. Yeah.
Then maybe we'd be having a different conversation. Maybe we'd be having a conversation with like, hey, so the cat stuff is a little bit problematic, but at least none of them died.
Okay, so yeah. Well, this is where maybe I have to tip my hand a little bit and say that, you're saying it's not a justified use of the cruelty is not justified. It's made even worse for me by the fact I think this film fucking sucks. So it's
odd to me.
It's turd on turd as far as I'm concerned. Like, not only did you torture and abuse these animals, in one case to the point where one of them died, but it gave us nothing. Literally nothing of any value. And it's got fucking David Bowie in it. It just gets worse for me from the second it starts to the second it finishes. Not a pleasurable film.
Why don't we do a synopsis and then come back and get into it properly? Because I want to know what you didn't like. I think there are some things that I can see about this movie that are divisive.
Sure.
And I'm interested to hear the things
the incest, the animal abuse. Just to start, yeah.
You raved about a movie with incest in it literally a week ago, so you can't be like,
wrong.
Incest is incredibly objectionable. So
anyway.
Anyway,
I love incest as a theme. I really, really enjoy well-handled incest, for sure. But for me, the incest in this movie is a huge part of why the synopsis is hilarious. So why don't you give us a synopsis and include the incest, and then we all know what we're getting at.
Okay, so estranged orphan brother and sister, Irina and Paul, come back together after being separated when they were 4 years old, or when Irina was 4 years old.
Yeah.
In New Orleans, Irina starts working at a zoo with John Hurd's curator, zoo curator. Is that a thing?
Oliver Yates. He says it is. Yeah.
He's a zookeeper.
Curate. Yeah.
There's also a giant cat, a giant black leopard that is killing people, mostly sex workers, in New Orleans.
Yep.
What is the mysterious cause of this big cat? Is somebody feeding sex workers to it? Maybe it's something else. Maybe it has to fuck its sister. There you go.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb to stop. All right. Anyway, that would be spoilery. So sorry. Thank you. For
so that's the synopsis.
Jamie. Yep, there it is. That's it. Yep. The movie's 2 hours long. It's worth noting, people.
That's not that long. You say 2 hours like it's 5 hours. 2 hours is a normal length of a movie.
I say 2 hours following on from that synopsis you just gave. Put the puzzle pieces together.
You said you complained about the movie being 2 hours before you even started watching it.
Yeah, I did. Because the original's an hour and 12. What are you adding? I'll tell you what you're adding.
It's a whole different movie.
Boring crap. Huh?
It's a whole different movie.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Beyond the sort of dealing with a taboo, it doesn't really have anything to do with the original cat. And people really turning into cats. It doesn't really have anything to do with people, with cat people. The 1942 movie.
It's it's kind of a stretch to call it a remake in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess it was commissioned as a remake.
Mm. Why? Now that you mention it, why?
Popular movie.
Is that just to capitalize on the original, like you said?
Yeah, they owned the rights to it. The Thing was popular. The weird thing is that like nobody was like, oh, The Thing was good, and it was good because it was a remake. It was good because it's fucking great.
That's what I mean. The leap there is absolutely, ridiculous to me that you would say, I think it's remaking movies from the 40s that's really working here. Not that everything about the thing is magnificent.
I guess the thought process is we've come out of like this real period of like auteur cinema, and with these big auteur directors like John Carpenter and like Paul Schrader was sort of growing to be after American Gigolo. I think the thought process was we own these properties, and we gave one of these properties to an auteur director, an auteur horror director, who was able to turn it into something really good. So maybe if we keep doing that, some good stuff will fall out. And like, I'm not defending the fucking Hollywood suits in 1982, but I think that's their thought process. Yeah, it's not a great thought process, but it's not the dumbest thought process ever.
It's more blue sky than
yeah.
Let's try and make cat people into the thing. Yeah, I get you.
Okay, well, let's take a break, Sam, and come back, and then you can tell me what your beef is.
All right, let's take a break.
Whoa, holy shit. I guess that's why they call it Phantom Power.
That was a long break.
I'm back.
Woo. Okay, so listen. This film.
Go on.
Warts and all.
Show me your warts, Sam.
I think the first thing I realized about the movie when I started watching it, we've already discussed. I can't get on board with a movie that treats animals like this for obvious reasons. Then I thought, well, maybe there won't be much of that, and a lot of it will be stock footage or something, and it wasn't. So, but persevering anyway. It commits the big sin for me. Unfortunately, it's fucking boring. I don't like how it looks, and it's boring, and nobody really performs well. Those are kind of my main central criticisms. I don't think anyone's good in it. I kind of hate that weird, just the whole patina and feel of all the visuals don't do it for me. And I'm bored shitless the whole way through this film. Absolutely bored out of my mind. It's just boredom punctuated with tits.
I agree with some of your points there. I think the movie is maybe 15 minutes too long.
Yeah.
I think the performances are deliberate, but they are an acquired taste.
Yeah.
But I do think
I can't
it's
say they're
gorgeous.
objectively bad. It just doesn't do anything. The performances don't do anything for me. Like,
they're just really big. They're like, nobody's hiring Malcolm McDowell for a really subtle performance.
But I don't think we get a particularly spunky performance here. I think we get something really flat and cardboardy and boring out of him. I'm not a huge Malcolm McDowell fan to begin with. It's worth noting, but he's just so forgettable in this. I just kept forgetting he even existed.
He does spend a lot of movie being a cat.
He does. He sure does. He does that. The cat is him as a cat. Really convincing. It's like it's a real cat. But the things that conspired to make this an unpleasant viewing experience for me are too inextricable from one another. Like, the pacing was absolutely shocking. It didn't know if it wanted to be kind of a kinky, erotic, risque late night movie or if it wanted to be a horror movie. And it had some weird, completely incongruous like jump scare moments. And then it had a complete lack of delivery on any of the horror because it's just a caged animal being badly treated and acting thus. So there was no horror. It didn't feel sexy enough for me really at all to be an erotic thriller. There wasn't any mystery. You know what's happening from the very beginning. And all the sort of wafty David Bowie desert stuff just completely washes over me. I just can't stand that kind of stuff. And then I'm just sort of stuck in this limbo of drudgery when it comes to pacing and really flat, monotonous performances. And no jeopardy at all. I didn't care one way or the other what happened to any of these people. I didn't really understand what was happening until he was just like, you have to fuck me. I just didn't really get it. And then when it turns out that's the stakes, I was just like, well, I don't know, just don't do that. And the movie's over. Like, I just didn't care. I think Annette O'Toole is great, as she is in literally everything she touches. The movie just kind of happened, and I was so uninvolved. It's just not a movie that pulls me in. None of the themes were interesting to me. There's a few nice shots, I think, helped along by old John Krasinski or whatever her name is. She was pretty compelling on screen in terms of like her.
Who's John Krasinski?
Natasha Kinski. Yeah, her.
Nastasia Kinski, yeah.
That's it. She was fine, but fuck me, was she boring. Like, dude, nah. It's not for me. It's another one of those movies that unfortunately probably rings a lot of people's bells real loud, but for me is a pissy little whimper.
I think that there are some moments of like really good horror.
Really? Like, I missed all these. Like what?
The scene of the woman climbing down the stairs like head first because she's been mauled by the cat at the very beginning is genuinely quite harrowing to watch.
It's just another one of those.
She really
scenes,
sells
though.
it. It's
another one of those hooker scenes. Something about the hooker in trouble trope of these movies of this era, I just check out completely. And the scratch looks bad, the tail looks terrible. All of it just flopped.
Well, the tail isn't in that shot at all.
What is it then? Not in that shot, yeah, but that sequence isn't scary. Like, the build-up's important. It doesn't work. The tail looks dumb, so I'm like, whatever.
But I think the shot of her literally climbing down the stairs screaming is an interesting and quite harrowing moment.
Yeah, maybe if it was executed more effectively. It just felt run-of-the-mill to me. Just didn't feel...
I think it's
not like fucking Hitchcock or something, is it? It's just...
I think that...
She crawls down the stairs and...
The production designer on this movie, Ferdinando Scarfiotti, is one of the all-time greatest production designers of cinematic history. And everything he touches looks amazing. In the way that Ferdinando Scarfiotti makes movies or production designs movies, particularly when he's working with Paul Schrader, is that he's working in tandem with the director rather than just being like, I'm the production designer, I'm going to make the sets. So all hair and makeup, all set design, all lighting, everything all goes through him. So it feels really auteur, and I think that's what makes Cat People and the other movies that him and Schrader worked on together really interesting, and the other movies that he worked on more generally.
Yeah, I think that explains everything for me. Like, if you don't like the guy's look, then you probably are going to struggle a little bit with a lot of the movie. And I think all that stuff looks horrible. It just doesn't. It's not my taste. It just looks. It's got that horrible beige thing going on that I hate. That's just so forgettable. And I get it. It's punctuated by flashes of red to signal this and show that and blah blah blah. It just looks gross to me. It's not the kind of movie that sucks me in because it doesn't look real enough to be. I don't know. It doesn't look real enough to be arresting, but it doesn't look fantasy, and it's too dreamy and in the middle and nothingy. It's not my cup of tea.
I think I can understand that. I don't agree.
Yeah, if it's it's obviously, technically well made, I guess. I don't think it's well edited at all. I can't say I think it's well edited. Like you said, it's deliberate. Like, the look is deliberate, the performances are deliberate. It's an auteur vision. Yeah. It's just one that fucking bores the balls off me.
Yeah, I think like the big cat stuff. If it wasn't for the scene of the big cat where we know that the cat dies, we would potentially feel very differently about it, because loads of movies have trained animals, and they have trained big cats that come in and double for the leopard sometimes. But that one scene where it's like basically a feral leopard that they put in this horrible situation, it is unforgivable. And like, that's your starting point. So it is hard to get past that, I think.
Yeah, but like you say, if we're going to look at this movie with any kind of rope, you have to omit it basically from your viewing experience.
Yeah.
Which,
it's difficult to do so, I think.
I don't know. To be honest, I find it pretty easy. I know that, there's so many fucking movies that are just rife with horrendous abuse, and if you're gonna get anything out of the viewing experience, you have to either completely omit it or boycott the movie. It's one or the other, really. I don't think there's a middle ground. But for me, I just don't think they even shot the animals very well. It just didn't do it for me. There's a few nice close-up shots of teeth flashing in a in a little montage bit or whatever, but
yeah.
Nah.
Well, I think
just not into it.
Particularly in the scene with the sex worker at the beginning, because that cat is completely feral and untrained, they basically had to build like a cage, like a steel box for the cat to stand in.
Yeah.
and jump around and do all its stuff because you couldn't have an actor in with it. It would kill them.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah,
it makes it very difficult to get an interesting shot out of that. You just put the camera somewhere and the cat jumps around and stuff. And then you're like, well, I hope this works because I'm never seeing that camera again or whatever. Like,
and it shows, unfortunately. That
Yeah.
takes me out of a movie. It's just like, oh, the top of this distraught animal's head for a few fleeting seconds in shit lighting. I was just like, if you're not even going to,
I mean, you don't see the top of the
you're
animal.
going to torture an
literally see
animal
it like,
to death and then it's going to look like shit, like, fine.
you don't just see the top of its head for a bit. It literally is bouncing off the walls, jumping around. Like it's a dynamic motion. It's just it's a really static, quite boring angle because the camera is poking through a hole in a box or whatever.
Yeah, there's just nothing in there for me. The scene that I thought was going to be scary but wasn't is when Annette O'Toole is getting changed and then she is so scared that she jumps into the swimming pool. I thought that was going to be kind of like a tense siege kind of scene, but it just turned out to be an excuse for more boobs, which, again, I'm not complaining about, but was a bit of a letdown in terms of fear factor.
I think that scene is scary enough.
Yeah, the vulnerability makes it really scary, but it
And,
just,
like-
again, it just doesn't deliver. None of it delivers.
I think it delivers exactly what it wants to. It's a moment of jeopardy for a character that we like, an objectively good character who's not done anything shitty.
Yeah, do you think we are supposed to like her character
Yeah,
by that point? in the movie?
absolutely. Like there's nothing, like she is the only person that doesn't do anything shitty.
Right, okay.
John Hurd knows that Nastasia Kinski's character is going to turn into a cat, so he ties her up while he fucks her, so she can't turn into a cat and get him. Like that's.
I just saw that as risky. I didn't see that as a dick move. I
think-
saw that as like, well, when she turns into a cat, you're just going to be fucking a tied up cat. What? What's going on, John?
It's a weird
Didn't
choice.
get it.
Yeah.
It's all weird choices. And again, that just, if I'm sitting there having to think, what the fuck are you doing the whole way through this film? I'm just not in it as much. And
Yeah.
then when the look of it makes me sick on myself, I'm just like, fucking hell, when will this end?
Getting bogged
But
down
yeah,
in the
I-
logistics, are we, Sam?
Oh, of that scene? Yeah, bud. Yeah, I was. I really was. If you're going to try and put me in that position, filmmaker, I'm gonna have a few questions. And the questions just came thick and fast for me, and none of them were really answered satisfactorily. I mean, you like this. I'm picking up between the lines because you see it as quite an artistically realized piece of moody, sensual horror, right?
Yeah. That is
Okay.
almost verbatim from my notes.
There you go. I mean, I guess listeners, you've just got to imagine the polar opposite experience of that, just not finding it sexy or moody or involving or frightening at all. And that's the stone cold, rigid, nothing experience I had watching it. Plus then add your least favorite musician and animal cruelty, and I was just bummed. I was just out.
Bowie is the end credits. So
Is he not the opening credits? Doesn't he wheedle his way in the opening scene? Isn't he going like, or something over the start?
no, that's Giorgio Moroder.
Does he sound like Bowie?
He's a weird little Euro guy from the 70s. Like,
Fucking Bowie clone. I'm out.
Giorgio Moroder is one of the greats. I think the synth
Is it safe to say it has Bowie vibes? Because the opening of this film, I was just like, does it say somewhere like with music by David Bowie or
Yeah,
something? Because I was
it says the theme to Cat People by
right, which
David
is the
Bowie,
end,
which is the end song.
right?
Yeah.
And it says that at the start.
Yeah, because it's a big
Fucking hell.
get in 1982, right? David Bowie was
name,
at the height
yeah.
of his fame.
Sure was. I'm glad I wasn't alive. Yeah. Again, it's whichever way you slice it, it's music I don't like the whole way through.
I just think it's good synthy score. I love that like there are so many different flavors of like synth score in the world. Like you can have the sort of John Carpenter stripped down like synthy, moody thing, and then you can have like this. It's orchestral in Cat People, Giorgio Moroder's score, but it's like orchestra. It's like an orchestra of synths. I think it's really cool. I think it's really, really well realized, and it really does some interesting things throughout. But if you don't like it,
Yeah. It's like synth used for evil.
He did they did a weird like neon 80s version of Metropolis, Fritz Lang's Metropolis, which is a criminal thing to do, right? And it was fully rescored by Giorgio Moroder, and it absolutely should be a crime against cinema. And somehow, off the strength and the tenacity of Giorgio Moroder's score, it becomes something incredible and magical.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it when I see it. I just think we have different opinions about this guy. Weirdly, he and Annette O'Toole would go on to work together on Superman 3 with Richard Pryor. Here's a credit I don't understand. Moroder's credited on IMDb as the composer for Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone. Does that mean he wrote Danger Zone?
So when Kenny Loggins was going all rock after the sort of Loggins, and I don't want to get deep in the weeds in my fucking Loggins lore here, but I'm a big Loggins guy. Yeah. So when he was going all rock, he worked with insane people to like find his rock sound.
Right.
So he was working with like one. Yeah, because he was basically like a fucking, what does in yacht rock, what the Hall & Oates call them, California vagina sailors.
Right.
Like, so he's basically like a fucking shitty Eagles guy when he's like Loggins and Messina. So he's working with like Motley Crue to try and find this rock sound. He works with Giorgio Moroder. So like all the insane synthy stuff that's happening in Danger Zone, that's pure Moroder.
Interesting. He also wrote the fucking Cat People song. It's just Bowie performing a Moroder song.
I think Bowie wrote the lyrics.
What's hell on earth? Woof. Worst of both worlds right there. Bowie's lyrics and Moroder's synthscapes. Rip my cochlears from my rangoose. No, thank you.
So, like, the other thing that you mentioned, not really liking with the performances, and I think the tone and the pacing of the movie is deliberately very slow. And I think that the performances are quite big and showy and, like, borderline ridiculous in order to, like, fill the gaps where nothing is happening, like, polyfiller those cracks. And I think, again, that's the choice, but I can easily see how that wouldn't work for somebody.
Yeah, it's hard to, I don't know, when a movie just plods so much, it's hard for a performance or even really a moment in this movie to stand out to me, to be honest. I don't know, I just feel like Kinski's just wafting around pouting the whole time, and it just doesn't do anything for me. It's so hard to explain why it falls flat. It's really easy for me to say why I don't like the Malcolm McDowell performance.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Malcolm McDowell performance, but it feels like it could be anybody doing a Malcolm McDowell performance is how I feel about his performance. I'm not watching A Clockwork Orange, you know what I mean? I'm not seeing that, like, fire in his eyes. Even, like, I mean, he made some shitty, super low-budget horror movies like Patrick and stuff like that. And he was able to really bring it in those. And I think he's being Nicolas Caged here. Do you know, like, the directors that can make Nicolas Cage not give a Nicolas Cage performance and give us something incredible, like Bringing Out the Dead or Adaptation or those movies where, like, we see a restrained Nicolas Cage being brought into touch by a director that can channel the manic energy of Nicolas Cage into a different part of the performance. I think that's what's happening here, but it is a negative.
Yeah, I think his character is just vapid. Like, he's got nothing. Like, you'd expect more of a rich and interesting through line for him, being a fucking werepanther. But we just don't get any of that. He just sort of wanders around saying vaguely misleading things, and then he's a panther, and then he's not. That's basically it. It's a bummer. It's a real... For a movie that's centered on the idea of this guy shape-shifting into a panther and killing people until he can fuck his sister and be released from the curse, or that's the plot as I saw it. I don't know if that's necessarily accurate.
No, I think that is the plot.
It really... Good, okay. It doesn't really dig into it that. It's just like, our parents fucked and were fucked by cats in the old days, and now we have to fuck, and that's all his character does, is live to deliver that line, basically, and then be a panther.
The thing that I don't understand is at the beginning,
either.
in the, like, the beginning stuff, which I think is incredibly beautiful, like the the deserty, Serengeti, huge matte paintings that look amazing. Don't they feed her to a cat, and she becomes the cat as a result of that. But then the explanation later is the cats were fed so many people that they became people. I don't understand. I don't.
I'm glad you don't get it either. I had no idea what was going on there. So two things quickly. The part that you just described as being beautiful is hands down my least favorite part of the movie.
It doesn't make any sense, and it's just sort of there. But I think
No, I mean the visuals. When you said the visuals were beautiful,
I just love a gigantic matte painting. The idea that they've recreated this huge vista on a soundstage, and it looks real, but it also looks like a movie, and I really like that.
Yeah, I think that's another taste thing. But when they cut the cat open and the arm's in there.
Yeah. In my notes, I wrote down, is that the arm from a person that he ate, or is it his arm? Is he like when I would turn my boglins inside out? Or
there's a little man. Yeah, is there a man inside the panther? What? Because she does kind of burst out of the panther later, right?
I love that. That is hands down my favorite effect in the movie. Is
that what's happening though? Their human bodies are inside a panther just grows around them.
Yeah, I think so.
Get fucked. At first I thought, is that Ed Begley Jr.'s arm? That doesn't make any sense. What the fuck's going on here? So the panther stuff doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't work, and that's what ruins the whole central premise of the movie. Obviously, A, but B, Malcolm McDowell's whole character. I don't understand him, so I don't care. And he's so inconsequential as a human that he just drifts past me on screen. Kinski, I just can't attach to this performance. There's nothing tactile there for me to get a hold of. So she just passes me by. I'm just waiting for Annette O'Toole to show up and do something that resembles acting. And then when she does, she leaves just as quickly. And then I want Ed Begley Jr. to come in and do his thing. And then he just gets his fucking arm ripped off and dies. And then John Hurd just sort of looks blank. He just looks like he's Valiumed up to the eyeballs, and he's just kind of on cruise mode for this movie.
There are some really, I wrote down 3 of my favorite shots.
Go on, hit me. Big 3.
The shot when Kevin's dad, John Hurd, is telling her that he loves her, and he's shot in that sort of super harsh neon light on one side and then complete blackness on the other side, and it's super film noir contrast, and it just looks amazing. The stuff with Annette O'Toole in the pool when after the lights get shut off just looks incredible. It's Italian how great that looks. I do love pool ripples on a ceiling. Just happens in that a very very cinematic thing that always It's such a shortcut to a beautiful shot. It's insane that it's not in every single movie. Yeah, if you got a pool and a ceiling, you're in. A thing in the McDowell performance that I really like, the moment that really sells his performance to me, is when he's eating the transformation shit off his belly, and he throws it in his mouth. And he's throwing water in his mouth in such a fucking weird and inhuman way. I'm like, okay, this is so considered and stupid and cool and interesting that it makes me contextualize his whole performance as something that is considered and interesting. Do you know what I mean? I guess. You can't accidentally throw water into your mouth like that. Do you know what I mean? It's so insane. I just saw that as maybe that's his real affectation, that's how he drinks water out the tap. Dude, you don't get to see other people drink water out the tap very often, do you? Even the people that you know really well, you might never have seen them approach a tap and move the water into their body. My God. I think people do it in a range of weird fucking ways. How would you drink water out of a tap? I don't know if there is a correct way, but I get my lips around that spigot and suck. Yeah. Do you ever wonder or worry that there's gunk in the spigot? I did for years because I was a hospital cleaner, and many of the wards I went on, the cleaners were not as thorough as me and had not cleaned inside the spigots in quite some time. Yeah. So I'm a real spigot scrubber in my household. I like to have those spigots scrubbed spick and span, let me tell you. I tell you what, I would never drink direct from the spigot in a hospital. No, you don't want to. But I was looking in there to clean. I was not getting in there to drink, for the record.
and I regularly found spigot filth.
Have you ever got halfway through eating something or drinking something and realized that it was the worst thing in the world? Like it was. I once got in from a night in the pub and buttered myself a slice of bread and was halfway through eating it, and I turned the light on and it was the greenest bit of bread that you've ever seen in your life. It was like absolute.
You didn't taste it.
Flashbacks. Yeah, like it tasted fine. It tasted like buttery bread.
Yeah, 'twas in a way buttery bread. It was also green with mold. Yeah. That's my experience of this movie. Okay, I thought I was buttering myself some delicious bread, and holy fuck, was it green. Dude, I hate to like dump on your dick here, but I think if Malcolm McDowell drinking water out of a tap is one of the best things in this movie for you, you might not love it quite as much as you're proffering.
I just think it's a really cool thing. I also love his transformation scene. I'd really like to talk about the transformation scenes with you, because I think it's worth noting this came out 1982. We're a year after fucking Werewolf Central. We had 1981. We had Wolfen. We had American Werewolf in London. We had The Howling. So I think it's very conscious. I think Paul Schrader was very conscious that those movies came out the year before, or while this movie was in production, and I think wanted to do something different or interesting with the transformations. Paul's transformation that we see, low-key could be terrible, but it isn't. Like the facial prosthetics as he's transforming. I mean, first we get that weird like shot of him in the mirror where he looks like Mac in The Nightman Cometh. He's got the contacts in. Do you know what I mean? And like it doesn't look great. And then like he's in the sort of the dark
bit I liked.
He's in the dark room with like the shafts of light.
Yeah.
And he's got these sort of facial prosthetics on, and they could look terrible, but they're shown so fleetingly that it's okay. It gets away with it. But the way that it moves from him in the shaft of light with the prosthetics on, and then he moves through like a dark patch into another shaft of light, and I guess in the dark patch they switch him out for a leopard. That is cool.
I agonized on what I thought of the transformation sequences more than I agonized over anything else in this movie, because I thought,
well, that's like the thing you can hang your hat on, right? The thing you can hang your big
it's the
comedy
only bit
Canada
I
Dry
thought could
hat
be
on.
cool. Yeah, it's the only bit that I thought had potential to be cool. I think the cat's eyes contacts look pretty good. It's a strong start. Then, very unfortunately, the mask that is kind of over the exploding cat head coming out of it is absolute shite. But the actual idea of having the cat burst out of the warped face, the idea is good, I think.
Well, that's her transformation scene, though, right? Not his.
Sorry, yeah, that's her, yeah.
Do you not think it's cool, like him walking between two shafts of light, and in between that, the transformation happens? I think that's just a really cool and interesting way to be like, we don't need to get bogged down in, or we're not ready for you to see the coolest thing in the movie, which is the cat face bursting out of her head. I just think it's
it just seems lame. It's another pulled punch for me. Like,
but it's not a pulled punch. It's a purposeful hold back. So when you get the unpulled punch of her face, the cat head bursting through her skin, it's happening to the character in theory that we're supposed to be rooting for, rather than the shit that care about. Rather than the shit guy who's off to the side, the guy that we don't really like.
Yeah, the guy who wants to have sex with his sister. Yeah, it's fine. Again, like, I wish I could say, yeah, it's fantastic. What a beautiful, soft touch piece of cinematic animal transformation. But it just passed me by. Just didn't. It was a non-happening to me. Again, because I don't think I cared at that point. I just didn't care what was happening to that guy, what he was up to. Not magnetic enough to make what could be cinematic mastery in terms of shooting and ideas come off for my liking. It also it's jarring to me to have these horrific elements, this exploding cat head out of a gooey face mask thing in a movie that doesn't really seem to be about that. It doesn't feel natural in the flow of the movie.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like
None of the horror aspects felt seated in the film. They felt bolted in. The whole hooker scene was like, this is a slasher movie. This creature transformation is a creature flick. The tension stuff is more thriller-esque than it is horror-esque, and that kind of cruises. The chase scenes feel out of place as well. It's just sort of dripping in this wannabe sultry sludge that kind of holds everything back from having a real claw hold in the movie. It's hard. I want to know your take more on
horror.
How is this a horror movie? Yeah.
Well, I think the horror comes from various different places.
Mm.
There are enough overt horror elements for me to consider it a horror movie. Like the scene with the big cat in the beginning and the woman climbing down the stairs and the transformation stuff and the...
I hate to do it, bud, but I think it might be fucking pretentious.
Oh, it's
Maybe
definitely
that's why
pretentious. Yeah, it's hugely
Right, okay,
pretentious.
good. That's why I don't like it then. It's a pretentious failure. I like pretentious successes. You know, I'm all about that. But it flops in every dimension. Like if it had been insanely sexy, but not very scary, and sort of tenuously held together with some nice visuals, then yeah, maybe. Or if it had been absolutely horrifying and, you know, a little bit sexy and had slightly better music. It just does. It does this like it's a flat EQ for me, right?
Yeah.
And I don't like flat EQs. I'm kind of a man of extremes in a lot of my tastes, and this movie feels gutless to me.
I mean, I think that there are guts here. I feel like a movie that is about an ancient cult of man cats who have to fuck each other in order to stop, like a world where like incest is built into it because otherwise you will murder people. I think it's impossible to call that gutless. I think you can not like it, and you can.
Yeah, no. Believe me, the premise is wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If I was walking past a movie theater and that's what it said on the poster, you've got my money.
Yeah.
And I'm leaving after 10 minutes. That's the problem. The execution is trash. It should be sillier. Maybe that's part of the problem for me.
Well, it's not silly because
the dumbest. But as soon as the reveal on the incest thing happened, I pissed myself laughing, and I was shouting out loud to myself alone. So the central conceit of this movie is cat people have to fuck their siblings. Like what am I watching? It should be fun, and it's absolutely not.
Well,
it's not fun.
I'm going to surprise you, but Paul Schrader is not a mirthful man.
Oh, well, what a shocker. So why ruin it for everyone? Why take something so fun and silly and try and make it so pretentious and full of guff?
Yeah, I think that's why...
Don't do that.
That's why the other remakes that were happening around this time really work. Like,
yeah,
John Carpenter's sense of fun fully permeates the thing until it doesn't need to anymore. Like,
yeah, but also his fatalistic sense of bleakness as well. He really leans into that, and this guy just isn't nailing his colors to anything significant enough.
Yeah, and like David Cronenberg is such a self-serious and pretentious man,
right?
But he knows that Seth Brundle needs to be a goofbag in order for us to take the journey with it.
Yeah, I think it's a swing. I think the whole Brundlefly being dumb is such a wild take.
Yeah, no, it's great.
And again, like you said, unexpected from Cronenberg. And it leaves you wondering how much of it is Goldblum, which is, again, interesting, fun, adds loads of dimension and layers and keeps it unpredictable and silly and still terrifying and still bleak as balls. Maybe this is just the shadow universe of all the enjoyment of those movies. It's just not them.
Yeah, no, I think, like, I do agree that a more fun take on this movie would be more fun. Like, it would be much easier to get along with. I do really like this movie, but I do know I can see it.
Yeah.
So like,
I mean, it's very much worth reiterating. This is probably a great movie. It does nothing for me as a person.
A film that is so thick with like repression and trying to hide the person that you really are.
But the repression good. In the first one is lesbians. Cool. Everyone loves lesbians. The repression in this is incest. It's immediately unlikable.
I mean,
You're repressing something fucking kind of weird, buddy. I'm not into it.
That's the text, right? The subtext isn't about incest. The subtext is about fighting these difficult feelings within yourself.
About
And
having sex with your sibling.
well, no, because again,
Well, I
that's
don't get it then. Why is that the subtext to incest? Why is incest telegraphed?
because
But difficult feelings about intimacy are the subtext.
because it's a massive taboo, right?
Yeah.
Like if the thing that they were trying to repress in the text was wanting to have a donut, then it wouldn't be a very interesting thing. So the fact that like these characters have this insane taboo thing that they know about or don't know about, that but they're still repressing it. Paul Schrader wasn't out as bi at this time, and he is very much out and bi now.
The taboo here isn't something that she wants. And it's not even something. It's something that we think he wants. I don't know. He seems to really fucking love killing people, and yet he says he has to fuck his sister to stop.
Yeah.
So he pursues that, but she doesn't want it. She does lots to avoid it. So
Yeah, because
the
the point is like
it's exploring that taboo. What's the?
so
I don't get it.
the underlying narrative is knowing that there's something inside you that like he doesn't necessarily want it, but it has to happen. Like it's part of who they are, right?
Okay.
So it's not like I mean he also definitely wants to, but
That helps. Yeah.
yeah, but like she also knows that it's true. Like as soon as she hears it, she's
Right.
like, I don't want to do that, but like ultimately she has to do it, and that's what the end of the movie is. And
It's a poor vehicle for that message, because sexuality is something that is often maybe repressed but ever present in the person experiencing it.
but I think that's happening in her as well. She just doesn't. She's not aware of it like he is. So
Sure.
so like they are two people that are fighting with their oppression, and like the idea that he loves killing people is that he's so repressed that he's a horrible homophobe. Basically, he's gone so far into repression because he can't be unrepressed, because the only thing that's going to unrepress him is banging his sister. So like
He sure leans into it in the end. He fucking embraces the concept when she shows up.
well, like that's what I'm saying. So like he up until that point in his life, there is no way for him to be not repressed. So he becomes incredibly violent as a result of that. So he's like one of those people that's like so closeted gay that they become a horrible homophobe
Yeah,
or
sure.
a Republican or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening there. That's why that stuff is happening.
Okay. I just think incest is the worst possible choice for that.
I mean, I just like I say, I think it has to be something that is actually taboo in order for it to make sense in Paul Schrader's brain. Do you know what I mean? Like it has
Yeah, in his brain, sure, but what about the audience, bud? Like, yes, incest is a taboo, but it's also like morally objectionable, and like if it was leather or something, like yeah, okay, sure, it's a taboo, but all right, or piss, like I don't know, incest. Come on, like
it has
break the curse.
It has to
I
be.
have to wear this sexy leather outfit. All right, okay, let's go, naughty boy. But to break this curse, I have to fuck my sister. The whole audience is out. Like, yeah, see ya.
I mean, the whole audience isn't out.
I don't know. This doesn't seem like a movie that's particularly well loved. I'm out. I don't care about that Jeopardy in the slightest. It's just like,
well, like I say,
clumsy
I don't
bullshit.
know if it works in the movie, but what it's trying to say works for me.
Yeah, but how fucking far did you have to dig to explain that to me?
Only because
Far enough.
Only because I'm in my sort of cat-like defensive position. So finding the words was more difficult than it would normally be.
There is a fundamental matter of taste here, and taste seems to be a crucial factor in the entire message of the film. It doesn't feel like it's saying, it's not Freddy Got Fingered. It's not saying you either love me or you hate me, take me as I am. But it is kind of saying you either like this very specific type of filmmaking, and therefore you're going to let me indulge my weird incest cat fantasy all over you, or you don't, and you're probably not going to give most of these egregious errors a pass. And I think that's probably core to whether or not people like the movie.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I also
On
think
another level, you could just say to people, Annette O'Toole gets naked. And then people might be like, well, I'll forgive all the David Bowie for that. There's a person out there that's saying that. Do you think he casts Kinski the way that he does because she's quite boyish? She looks like a little boy. Is that a controversial question? I think she's deliberately made to look like a little boy.
I don't think that's true. I think he cast her
Okay.
specifically because she looks not American. She has like a very sort of European
Yeah, I'll buy that.
standard of beauty. So she
Yep.
already looks sort of alien, especially when you put her next to Annette O'Toole, who looks...
In a blind taste test, yeah, I would say she's French and she's American.
Yeah.
How ignorant does that make us?
What are you tasting? Is it her menstrual blood after she's just had sex?
That was probably the best bit of the movie. There's a deliberate boyishness here. I'm gonna put forward my opinion that is happening.
Maybe subconsciously, because like we say, Schrader is also into dudes, but I don't think he's ever said that out loud specifically.
Might be another taboo thing.
I don't know about that.
She never has short hair in any other movies. In a little boyish first day at school side parting.
Yeah, I don't know. There are quite a lot of kids in the movie, and we never see anything that even hints at that with those children.
Yeah.
But like, I think the thing that you're alluding to there is probably the only other taboo that is taboo enough for it to make sense in the plot of the movie, and I'm glad that it's incest rather than that.
Oh, it could have been anything, bud. Like I said, it could have been piss.
But like, it couldn't be piss
on
because
me
like
to end the curse.
that's it needs to be not a choice. So it can't be like I have to piss on you, otherwise I have to kill. Like that doesn't work.
It's the jellyfish movie.
Yeah.
All right, fine. Maybe it does have to be. Well, does it? I don't know.
Like there
If
would
it has to be incest, do it better.
Yeah, it has to be
Easy.
incest, pedophilia, or rape. Like, and out of those three things, I would take incest.
Crikey.
Like, it has to be something really, really challenging in order for the wider message, the wider story that's happening underneath the story to mean anything. And
Was he lying as well?
do you think there's a possibility that he's lying?
Well, what happens after they have sex?
She goes and has sex with other people?
I think he might be lying.
I don't think he's lying. The movie doesn't give us any indication that he's lying, at least.
Doesn't give us any indication he's telling the truth.
I mean, it sort of does because they go to the cat people place and the cat says her name. And like the suggestion that happens is the suggestion that everything is true. For me.
That might be the lamest part of the movie when that cat says
But he's also dead at that point, so I don't really understand.
No. Is it significant that she's a virgin?
Yeah. Like, she's never wanted to have sex, right? And that's because innately, the person that she wants to have sex with is her brother. Even though
so
she
when
doesn't...
she's saying to Annette O'Toole that she did want to have sex with people when she came close, but the guy's dick was too big, that fun little bit of banter, she's lying.
maybe she's not lying. But like, there was...
Covering up.
Yeah, there was something in the moment that was just like, I can't have sex with you. You're not my brother.
She should have just told Annette O'Toole that at the bar.
Well...
No, the time's never been right. It's never been with my brother.
Well, she doesn't
who is
know
a
that at
human
that point.
panther. But isn't it implied that she does, though? That's like...
She knows...
When she's leaping around like a cat and fucking...
She knows something, but she doesn't know that...
She doesn't notice that.
Yeah.
So when he reveals that to her, that is genuinely her first understanding / revelation of that fact.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And like, she knows that
Oof, what a
she
mess.
can jump up a tree or whatever.
Fuck that. It's so funny when they just drop that. Oh, by the way, she's essentially a Catwoman.
The shot of Malcolm McDowell jumping on the bed is great. I think they shoot that in reverse.
Yeah. Great is a stretch.
I think like it's just a cool, like, you would never know that it was shot in reverse by the way that he's walking or the way that like the camera moves, and like normally you can tell when something is going backwards.
Oh,
so
yeah,
like
yeah. It doesn't leap out as being shot in reverse. Yeah.
apart from the obvious backwards jump when he is jumping up onto the bed, and it's clearly like just a very
more of a step
inhuman
type.
movement, which is it's meant to be an inhuman movement, but
Yeah.
you can instantly recognize it if you watch it more than once that it's backwards. Like I just think that's cool, and I like the idea of like a director or a person like Paul Schrader making these weird sort of genre movie choices. And they don't all work, like you say, and they don't all hang together, and like some of it feels too pretentious to really hang anything on. But I just think the idea that he's doing that is cool.
I don't know. If a movie necessitates this much behind the scenes knowledge to even just enjoy it, then it's not worth the juice is not worth the squeeze to me. But I think like my doubt while watching it, I guess my subliminal doubt was, is he doing this, or is this a studio decision? Is this just a lack of direction, or is it deliberate but failing? I didn't know what was grinding up against each other and why. That's not an enjoyable position to be in watching the movie if you've got to watch 6 documentaries about it to even understand why.
Why don't we take a break, Sam, and come and wrap this up? This is
Good shout.
running quite long, but luckily loads of it's going to be edited out.
Will you give it up, man? Nobody's out there. We're alone. Oh no, there's somebody out there. I'm picking up all this crosstalk.
Oof, I'm back, Sam. Are you back?
Whoa, it's suddenly back. Yes, I'm here.
Excellent. If you've enjoyed this episode, you can watch an uncut version of this and every other one like it over at our Patreon for just $5 a month. And you should also follow us on our social media. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Give us your wrap up, Sam. I know that it's going to be short and it's going to be low, so that's fine. So get it gone.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this movie 2 dumb little red cat claws out of 12, because I don't like it.
Do you not?
No, weird. It's not because it's bad. It just is abhorrent to my senses and my sensibilities and my taste and my little tiny little mind. It unfortunately does so many more things to upset my palate than it does to please it, that I just can't get my noodle into it and can't enjoy even realistically any of the things that maybe it objectively does well. And that is, to quote Taylor Swift, "It's me. I'm the problem. It's me." Cat People sucks. Sorry about that. 2 out of 12. What a bummer.
Well,
what about you, bud?
To quote Taylor Swift, or to paraphrase Taylor Swift, but Daddy, I love it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Look at us. How almost culturally relevant of us.
Obviously, we've been at odds in this episode. I think that this movie, it does have its problems, and it's very clearly not for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that it wears that on its little cat haunch. But
Haunch?
those are haunches, right? Shoulders? I don't know anything about cats. I think it's good. I think it does some really interesting things. I think it's like a once in a lifetime movie. Like,
as in watch it once, or
no, as in like it could only exist once.
Oh, okay.
Like the weird confluence of cats and sex and incest and repressed sexuality and David Bowie and all of that stuff. Like, we're never going to see that again.
Thank fuck, buddy. Thank all fuck.
But I just think it works for me.
Hmm.
And that's fine by me.
I think that's wonderful. A movie that is divisive solely on taste, I think, is maybe a better made movie than a less well made movie, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say that it's a better made movie than you would give it credit for in your current mindset. Do you know what I mean? Because like, you think it's
I do genuinely struggle to see how it's a good movie, and I just don't like it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, there's movies where that's clear. You know, that is obviously an amazing
that's what
film.
I mean.
I just don't like it. This one's harder to remove the subjectivity from because it's so abhorrent to me. Yeah, tricky. I'm really interested to know what other people in the world think of the movie, just to contextualize my own dumbness.
Yeah, I would love to hear from more people that hate it. I would also like to hear from people that agree with me, because it's nice to be validated.
What's your rating, though?
I would give it, 6 mouthfuls of post-coital menstrual blood or post-coital vaginal blood out of 9.
6 out of 9.
Yeah.
Pretty high. Not as high as I thought you were going to go. I thought you were going to give this some pretentious bullshit like 10 out of 10. That's pretty high.
Yes, it's a 6 out of 9 movie. I also chose those numbers because they're the sexiest numbers.
Why? Can you explain? So I think that's a high rating for a movie you've only watched twice. I think this is an anomalous ranking in our oeuvre.
Yeah.
I think
potentially
films you've only seen once or twice and rated very highly.
I could comfortably watch this again. I mean, I watched it 3 times this week, but speaking of having sex with your siblings, Sam, what's happening over at redscare.net?
Not much, to be honest, bud. But you should still check it out to find out, just in case something happened that I don't know about, which is normally the way incest goes. So I think if you're a shrewd dude with something to prove, you should head over to redscare.net, because I know for a fact Brendan Kelly is recording right now and booking a bunch of shows. There's a whole bunch of shit going on over there, man. Just give it a chance. Give it a try. Give it a sniff. You might like it.
Well, on that, Sam, let's say goodnight to the wonderful cat people.
Good night, cat people.